What's up, everyone? This is James Hernandez. How's everybody doing? Hope you're all doing good, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Characters Face Off. This is Characters Face Off episode 24, and this episode is going to be a battle between two spy agents from two different action movie franchises. So we have James Bond versus Ethan Hunt. For this fight, we're going to be using the Daniel Craig James Bond from the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, since there's multiple incarnations and actors of James Bond while there's only one Ethan Hunt. So that means we're going to be using the Daniel Craig version of James Bond to fight Ethan Hunt to see which of these two spy agents would win in the fight. So without further ado, let's do this. So let's talk about James Bond. So James Bond is the main character of the rebooted 007 movie franchise. As for his origin story, his parents died in the climbing accident when he was 12 years old. He was then raised by Hammermoos Oberhaus, a climbing instructor, and his son, Fritz Bond, served in the Royal Navy and was recruited into the Naval Intelligence. Eventually joining the M16, in Casino Royale depicts his first as 00, where he earns his license to kill through brutal, effective kills, establishing him as a cold, capable operative, and that's when James got the codename 007. But now it's time to talk about his powers and abilities. Now, James Bond, the Daniel Craig James Bond, has peak physical condition, as he is depicted as being at the top physical shape, showcasing a remarkable strength, speed, reflexes, agility, and endurance. And he's also really skilled at martial arts, like he has Judo, Aikido, Brazilian, Jiu-Jitsu, Filipino Kyle, Stylomania, Karate, Boxing, and the whole list goes on when it comes to his own martial arts. Now, James is also very good at his own detective skills and investigation abilities, since he is, well, a secret agent, which allows him to picture clues, understand motives, and anticipate enemy actions. He is also very intelligent and also very cunning, as he is able to think strategy and adapt to complex situations. James Bond is also very stealthy, as he can move undetected, infiltrate structure locations, and eliminate threats directly. Now, as for his weapons, James Bond has a huge list of weapons, like he has a Walther PPK, a Glock 16, a Baturia, Heckler & Koch, Six Saber P226, AKS 74U, Browning High Power, Colt, Sick Group, a Smith & a Western P38, Treacherous, a Hope and Hook, UMP Q, and the FN Finale. And James Bond is also very skilled in knife combat, since the knives is also included in his weapons, as he is capable of delivering lethal blows or disarming his opponents effectively. He also can disguise himself by switching different clothes and false identities, kind of like Agent 47 from Hitman. Now, as for his vehicles, James Bond first being is the Aston Martin DB5, and this car actually carries 30 Calibro machine guns, tire shredding blade, oil, smoke water imitator, M134 miniguns, and mines. And the top speed of that car is 145 miles per hour. Now, the second one is the Volkswagen DB10, which it carries flamethrowers and machine guns, and that car can go up to 190 miles per hour. The third being is a DBS V12, which can go up to top speeds of 191 miles per hour, and he also has the classic VA Smithsonian, which can also carry firing missiles, laser cutter emitters, and self-destruct station. It also has the top speeds of 165 miles per hour, along with the other vehicles like the Ford Bronco and the Jaguar XJ. Now, James Bond is also very skilled as being a pilot, as he uses many different types of private jets and airplanes when he was able to catch up with his enemies. And he's got a whole list of planes throughout the Daniel Craig James Bond films in the series. Now, as for his durability, this James Bond has taken beatings and injuries while continuing to fight. He survived being shot, tortured, stabbed, showing a level of physical invulnerability. He also survived broken ribs, leg cuts, survived significant falls with no injuries, and the fall was about 322 feet in the air. which is very impressive, and he was very lucky to survive that fall. Now, when it really comes to his feats, this James Bond was strong enough to break through walls, healed onto trucks, he was strong enough to lift up a body underwater, survive falls and injuries in capable opponents so fast, and he's very skilled at knife fighting since he was able to defeat the guy who was trying to stab him, but James Bond actually took care of that pretty easily. He excelled at planning, adapting, and exploiting his enemies' weaknesses. He has killed 235 enemies in all the movies, defeated a terrorist guy in poker. He has become attracted to the ladies like all the James Bond movies has because he is such a lucky guy to get all the girls. He demonstrates some incredible accuracy even while moving in awkward positions, and during his stints training, he even switched between his classic PPK and heavier modern weaponry, survived gunshots, but despite that he is human, he has known for saving people, compiled the M16 training in just 8 weeks. In terms of weaknesses, James Bond is still human. He's known for breaking the rules when he often went rogue. He can be destructed by the MI and MI16 and acted as a blunt instrument rather than a refined agent. He's also pretty aggressive and blunt instrument approach sometimes lacked on many things and contracting in the other Bonds, and he can get famously poisoned what just really happened at the end of No Time to Die. But overall, this James Bond is a skilled spy agent with a huge list of weapons, combat, vehicles, stealth, and detective skills, and that's why he is known for being called Bond, James Bond, and that's why he is known as 007. Now let's move on to his opponent, and that is Ethan Hunt. Now, Ethan Hunt is the Impossible Mission Force agent and is the main protagonist of the Mission Impossible series. As the only child of Margaret and Nathan Hunt, Ethan longed for days of the farm, and as soon as he graduated high school, young Ethan would join the U.S. Army. After passing the basic advanced individual and the airborne training, Ethan will go to the Ranger Intermediation Program, or RIP for short. After he graduated, he would join place in the 3rd Battalion of the 75th Ranger Regiment. He would fight in the Desert Storm after 4 years in the Army. Then Ethan will go to the University of Pennsylvania, where he graduated a double major, those being engineering and international relations. After graduating, Hunt would seek employment and from the CIA, but instead ended up in the Mission Impossible force, basically known for being, Ethan Hunt. But now it's time to talk about his powers and abilities. Just like James Bond, Ethan Hunt has peak human condition as a Mission Impossible Force agent and the former U.S. Army Ranger. Ethan is in peak physical condition as he has his strength, speed, agility, reflexes, and durability are peak levels for a man in his own age, his height and weight. And Ethan is also shown himself capable of performing incredible physical feats, such as holding his breath for long periods of time, withstanding intense physical pain and torture, jumping off from heights and between buildings, withstanding the extended altercations and recovering quickly, clinging onto the side of the airplane in flight, climbing up to the side of the mountain without any equipment, and he's known for running at incredible speeds for long periods of time without getting exhausted. He can also keep himself in shape in between missions throughout the intense workout regime, as well as the hobbies like rock climbing. And he's also very skilled in knife combat, just like James Bond, which was shown in either Mission Impossible 2 or Mission Impossible 3. And he is very impressive. Now speaking of impressive, Ethan Hunt is also very skilled at martial arts, as he has been trained in Brazilian martial arts, many different martial arts on which he is shown fighting ability, taking a CIA employee without stealing, basically while stealing, the NOC list, but it is later knocked out in the confrontation by the elderly but more experienced Jim Phillips. He also uses various kicks, holds, and flips during the next 2 movies, which in the second movie Ethan was able to use techniques which is simply which is inspired by capoeira and uses aikido and jiu-jitsu techniques during the fight with Ambrose. And then in the third movie, he uses the techniques from Kensia and in the training scene with Renji Farias as he was teaching her equivalent of martial arts skills. Now, as for his weapons, Ethan Hunt has a Vectia 92FS, the Sig Sauer P226, Heckler and Koch, Colt M19 11 1A, Gallic 1726, Desert Eagle XIX, rifles, knives, which he uses it during and explosives and gadgets. And as for his durability, he survived like falls from great heights, train crashes, explosions, car hits, clinging to planes, electric shocks, and holding his breath there for existed periods. And he's also very skilled at driving skills, just like James Bond, as he has the BMW Vision effective dynamite, and additionally limited the top speeds of 125 miles per hour, well, 250 miles per hour, I mean. The BMW, and he also has like, pretty much like the combines of modern cars, and has like the top speeds of 135 miles per hour. And he is also very skilled as being a master spy at breaking into even the most secure facilities and breaking out of without being detected. And he's also very skilled as being a pilot, as he uses capable of piloting helicopters and planes. Now, Ethan Hunt is very impressive with his feats. He has survived gunshots, saved the world from terrorists multiple times, known for saving the world at the last second, easily beats up criminals. He is known to be the best Impossible Mission Force agent, survived explosions, was strong and brave enough to hang on onto the side of the airplane while taking off, climb a giant cliff without any harnesses. But in terms of his weaknesses, Ethan Hunt is still human. He's overwhelmingly loyal to, he's overly loyal as he will paralyze saving his friends and innocent people over complexing the mission and the trait exploding by enemies. But he's also very reckless, as he is willing to perform death-defying to the risk of mission failure. He can also manipulate by his arch nemesis, and he places himself in extreme danger. He occasionally hides critical information from his own team, which can actually cause some incremental elimination and endanger operations. But overall, Ethan Hunt is the greatest Mission Impossible Force agent, with weapons, combat skills, durability, and being a good spy agent. And the last thing he also does have is that he's also really good at disguising himself while wearing different masks and forming scans of targets. Yeah, which really allows him to impersonate others like Russian generals, and that's about it. Okay everyone, now that I analyze these two characters, it's time for me to talk about who would win this fight. And I gotta say guys, this is actually gonna be the most difficult and probably the most toughest and closest match ever, because both James Bond and Ethan Hunt are very impressive when it comes to their own skills in martial arts, and they both are really good with their own detective skills, and both are very stealthy as well. So it's going to be really tough for me to decide who do I think is going to win this battle, as they are basically evenly matched. But in terms of who do I think is going to win in an actual fight, it's really hard for me to decide. But if I had to pick an actual winner, I think I might give the slight edge to Bond, and here's why. Yes, Ethan Hunt is very impressive with his skills, and he's also a really good spy agent, and he might have more like gadgets, and probably has more like spy gadget and detective skills than Bond is. But when you look at James Bond, the Daniel Craig James Bond, this James Bond is actually the most like violent, the most brutal, and probably the most strongest version of the James Bond character in the James Bond series. Now, if this fight actually takes place in the Plaza Hotel, which I can actually see them fight at, they can actually bump into each other, and each one of them think they might be the enemy, and each one of them might be like one of the terrorists that tries to blow up like the city or something. Then it would actually be like a mistaken identity for these two characters to fight. So I think if this fight actually does happen in the Plaza Hotel, then I can see these two go at it. Now, what I can really see that James Bond can do is that will find a way to take cover, and then he will summon his car. which actually carries all these mini guns. And since his car is completely bulletproof, he can use those miniguns to probably shoot at Ethan, and Ethan has to like find a way to take cover, and then while he's trying to fight James at the same time. And if these two actually get into a knife fight, they're actually going to go on par and par. And I really do think that while Ethan has fought opponents stronger than him, that it was able to be this close to stab him in the eye, which almost happened in Mission Impossible 2, then I really don't see Ethan Hunt might be able to like deflect James Bond when he was trying to stab him, because like I said, this version of James Bond is really strong, and he basically is like the most toughest character of the James Bond universe. So I think this actually would be a really difficult fight. And if these two actually shoot each other, they would go boom, 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 poop, pew, 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 pew. These guys are probably going to take cover, since both of them are capable of dodging bullets, despite that they don't really have any bulletproof vests like the other action movie characters like John Wick or Jason Bourne, or even the other action movie heroes in action movie franchises, basically. So if these two actually like shoot each other and they try to take cover, it's going to be really cool. And I can see these characters like go at it. And it's also going to depend on who's going to make the mistake first and who's going to get the shot first. So apparently, I really do think that if James Bond and Ethan Hunt fight to the death, I think I'm definitely have to give the slight edge to James Bond. Now, I'm not saying Ethan Hunt's weak. He's not weak at all. He's very impressive. He does have many impressive feats in the Mission Impossible films. But I think with James Bond, the Daniel Craig version, is just like, it's going to be really tough for Ethan to fight. And Ethan will put up a good fight against Bond, because these two are highly trained in martial arts and hand-to-hand combat, and both of them are really good detectives, and both are really good secret agents. So I think, while I do think this is actually going to be one of the closest matches ever on Characters Face Off history, probably even like much more closer than the previous episodes, I do think like while Ethan Hunt might be able to put up a good fight against Bond, I think James Bond is obviously going to win here, because, like I said, the Daniel Craig version of James Bond does not play around, and he's basically like the deadliest, the most brutal, and the most violent version of the James Bond character. If I included like all the actors playing James Bond in the other James Bond movies, then that would be like a different story and a different conclusion. Then that could be like a possibility that Ethan Hunt could possibly win against Bond. But if it was Daniel Craig Bond, then I think James Bond would win in the fight. And I really don't see Ethan Hunt winning here. So it's really hard for me to decide who would win, because like I said, these two characters are evenly matched when it comes to like weaponry, combat experience, and being detective skills. And Ethan Hunt cannot call his allies to help him, because that's being considered outside help. So, and like in every Versus show, especially in this show, this is always a one-on-one fight. So with all that being said, looks like in the end, Ethan Hunt has been hunted down by 007. The winner is Bond, James Bond. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you guys really enjoy my channel, please subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the notifications when I make brand new videos. And stay tuned for the next video that I'm going to be working on the next chapter of the Marvel Transformers crossover. And I'm also going to be working on making more other videos like comic book reviews, anime reviews, video game reviews, top 10 lists, and other Characters Face Off episodes, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say. And what did you guys think of my debate? Like, did you guys agree or disagree? Is there something that I actually missed from James Bond and Ethan Hunt? Let me know in the comments below. And if you think Daniel Craig James Bond would win, or do you think Ethan Hunt would win? Let me know in the comments below too. I would love to hear your opinions. And check out this preview for the next episode of Characters Face Off, which I'm going to be working on more episodes. But as of right now, stay tuned for the next chapter for the Marvel Transformers crossover video. Since you guys might be wondering when am I going to do more of those, it's going to be coming up next. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, like hope you guys enjoy this brand new episode of Characters Face Off. Hope you guys had a great. I'm sorry, I'm lip syncing. Hope you guys had a great day. Take good care of yourselves. This is James Hernandez, signing out.